Okay, good evening, everyone. So once again, I get to see you in place of Achan Guy. He wouldn't be in today, so I'm filling it. I'll just wait for a few minutes for everybody to join in, and I'll begin in 5 minutes. I hope you can hear my voice. Anyone? Can you just give me a shout? Can anyone hear me? Am I audible? Anyone who's there? Okay, so I think I'll just begin. I hope you can all hear me. Yeah, I just appreciate anyone. Just let me know if I'm audible. Can you hear me? Just give me a shout, please. Anybody there? Cyrilak, Malayvan, Lee Yindu, Walairak. Anyone there? Or you can just type and let me know that you can hear me, okay? So this is the week that I am supposed to speak about an abstract. So basically, what is an abstract? Whenever you write a research paper, you are expected to begin, you don't actually begin with the abstract. When you read the research paper, it may be the first thing that you see, but it's not the first thing that one possibly writes. So there are two benefits of doing an abstract. One is when you actually would like to present your work and somebody is not sure whether they need to read your paper or not. So abstract is like a summary of the research paper, and upon reading the abstract, they will decide whether they will pursue on to read your paper or not. Okay. So this also gives you as a writer a chance to summarize. Now, just like any essay, in an essay, like you can have 3 or 5 paragraphs. There'll be the introduction, the middle, the body, the conclusion. Similarly, even in a report, you have an introduction, you have a body, that's your data that you've collected, whatever findings you'd like to present, and you have a conclusion. And that gets exactly transferred on as a summary. So it's a very, what we call, it's a convention. When somebody reads an abstract, everybody as a scientist knows how you have to write and even how you have to read. So basically, what is an abstract? It's that concise, informative text that is used as a screening tool or preview for research papers or conference presentation. So as I just mentioned, before someone goes on to completely read your research paper, they'll read the abstract. If they find the information straight to the point, concise, they will proceed. Otherwise, it's used as a screening tool, whether I want to proceed to read the paper or not. Now, what does the abstract actually compose of? So just like how I mentioned, the research article has an introduction, the body, the conclusion. That's exactly what the abstract is supposed to have, but just in lesser words. So there would be many publications that'll tell you that, okay, we want an abstract of not more than 200 words. And also, by the way, every publication has their format of writing an abstract. Some publications like the IEEE will expect you to include the literature review. In some others, like the Learn Journal that we have at Thammasat University or the others, your literature review is not expected to be included, okay? So therefore, when we say the critical component, the important of components of in the research paper is what will be included also in your abstract, and that will allow the readers to get an overall idea of what your research is about. Therefore, according to Martin and Martin in the year 2005, the main reason for the abstract is plainly to provide a summary, okay, of what the article contains. So by now we're clear, and I hope you do have any kind of a research paper in front of you, the first thing that you say, and it says very boldly also, this is an abstract. So in simple words, when we talk about abstract, it includes points that will answer the WH questions. What is this paper about? Why is it important? How did you do it? What did you find? Why are your findings important? Why are your findings important? So again, what is this paper about would actually talk about introduction. What is the purpose that you did this paper? Okay. Why is it important? What were the gaps you found that others didn't do, and therefore it was so important you had to bring forth? Was it to solve a problem or whatever your purpose was? So from information, that's I, we kind of move on to what we call M. M, anybody, you want to guess what M actually stands for? What would M stand for? So if what is your research paper, the background, and why is it important, the purpose would be I. So the how would actually be the M. M means the method. How did you do it? Did you use qualitative, quantitative? You used mixed method? What exactly did you use? Okay. How many samples? Where did it take place? So all this would be in 1 or 2 sentences, you would be covering the method. Okay. What did you find? So once we have the I am, of course, we want the results. Okay. So IMR, what did you find? What were the results? Let's say I surveyed 160 participants. I did a qualitative and quantitative. So quantitative could be 160, qualitative maybe 5. What did I get from it? What did the statistical analysis tell me? What did the in-depth interview? Okay, again, you've got to be very clever here because you are limited to, let's say, 200 words. Now, within 200 words, you've got to tell us what is the paper about, what's the information, the methodology, what did it lead to, the results, and discuss why are your findings important. Okay, again, probably you found something in the literature review and you want to be able to conclude and recommend what your results will lead to. What's the implication? It could be if you are doing a program like a TESOL where you are teaching English, what's the pedagogical implication? If you are doing a clinical analysis, what is the side effect or the long-term study of the drug? What will it lead to? Will it lead to a cure or etc.? Okay, so depending on which field you are, you've got to be able to tell us what's the information, the method, the results, and the discussions. Now, the question is, when do we need to write an abstract? As I already mentioned to you, so whenever you do a research, you will do it, be it part of your master's degree, be it part of your PhD dissertation, whether you're going to be publishing it for a journal, and even when you are applying. I'm very sure when you worked on your PhD application, you were told to submit a proposal, or even for your master's degree for a grant, a scholarship that you wish to apply for. If you wish to attend a conference, so you need to send your proposal for an academic conference. So sometimes even at the stage of the pilot study, you would be able to even come up with the abstract. So abstracts can be written just like how, when do you write a summary? You know, at the end of any paper that you have, be it the essay has a summary, you have a report that has a summary. So in the research, we would call it the abstract. Now, generally, abstracts, they provide information, as I mentioned, on the purpose, the introduction, the method. We want to know the results and, of course, the findings. Okay, so we call them I, M, R, and D. Okay, so Highland, very specifically, now again, I just mentioned different writers will propose different methods, just like how different publications. Some publication says you may include the literature review. Some may say, no, you don't have to. So similarly, some of the writers, so Highland, for example, he says, I want 5 components. So he separates the introduction from the purpose. Some of the writers would say introduction means background and purpose. So here, Highland says, I want the introduction separated from the purpose, the method, what were the results, and at the end, the conclusion. And all this has to be, by mind you, in linear order. What does it mean? You cannot first do the conclusion and then introduction. No, you must go in order for you to be able, for the reader to be able to recognize that pattern. Because if you say, so therefore the study was conducted to identify whether students will undertake peer feedback, it's supposed to be an introduction. So not the conclusion being put up there. Okay, so let's look at the first one here. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to read. This is an abstract. Motivation and attitudes are believed to be significant factors in successful language learning. This study aims to, look at the language. The language is going to be able to help you identify whether we're going to be looking at the information part, the method part, the conclusion part, okay? So the first line, motivation and attitudes are believed to be significant factors in successful language learning. This study aims to. So I hope you would recognize this as a purpose. So we know that if for students to be successful in learning a language, we need to motivate them. That's the background information. And now, keeping in mind that I want to talk about motivation and attitude, so therefore my study aims to, that's the purpose, aims to investigate who Thai EFL secondary school students, their motivation and attitude towards learning English. How am I going to do it? The participants of this study comprise 640 schools all over Thailand. Data was collected using a modified 34-item motivational survey, so probably a questionnaire, adapted from Gartner's 2004 international version of attitude and motivation test battery. And then I even had in mind that how would I analyze the data? So it's all part of the method, right? It was analyzed using descriptive statistics and content analysis. So I'm just going to now start highlighting. So my first one was about motivation and attitudes are believed to be successful for anybody who wants to learn a language. In order to prove that, I aim to investigate. Let me change the color better. So I'm going to erase that. And I'm going to have a different color here. Where's my highlighter? Here. Okay, let me just change the ink first. Okay, So this study aims to investigate Thai EFL secondary schools' motivation and attitudes towards learning English. Now, I went and found out who did I interview. I went and the participants of the study comprise of so many schools, students all over Thailand. And what I did was I used data from a questionnaire adapted by Gartner, which is called the AMTB. And then I even analyzed using SPSS or whatever I use for my statistics and content analysis. What did I get out of it? That's the question next. So in order to know when after I collected data and processed the information, the findings revealed that Thai EFL students are highly motivated and are keen to learn and improve their English. However, wow, there's a contrast I have here. Most of them said that English language learning in classrooms does not meet their needs and prevents them from improving English skills that are useful for their real life situations. Now, based on this finding, what do I do with it further? Based on this finding, I hope this color is not too dark. Okay, it is dark, so I'm going to just underline it. Some pedagogical implications are demonstrated. It is hoped that this finding, what's the use of it, will benefit teachers in Thailand as well as those in EFL context in order to do what? Gain insights to further support the motivation and attitudes of the learners. Now, let's look at what we had in the first one. So as I mentioned, we begin with an introduction, and even the abstract will have it. Then we go on to ask what's the purpose or objective. So we have this study aims. Furthermore, we talk about the method. The method means how did we collect the data? So we used the questionnaire in order to collect the data. We collected it from those students. And then we went on to discover what was the findings, the results, or you want to call it the product. When you make something, right? You want to bake cake, for example, you have the raw materials. So let's say I want to make cake. I'll first think of why I want to make cake. Is it my birthday? Do I even know how to make cake? Why do I need to make it and not buy it? Okay, so maybe making a birthday cake introduction for my mother on her birthday would I would be able to express more love, okay, given that research would say that, yes, mothers would feel more joy when something is handmade, right? And we know it. We don't have to do research in the introduction also. It's given for a fact that we know it, that if I make something, anything even small, she's going to be happy. So therefore, I am going to now make a cake, birthday cake for my mother. In order to do that, I need to know the methods. I need to bring all the ingredients. And once I have actually created that, I will learn to mix, to bake and all. And I give my mother the cake. And what do I get out of it? The conclusion, the implications. It's not only the joy that you get when you're baking the cake and you see your mother happy, but it's also for me when my daughter sees me doing things for my mother. She kind of learns. So it's like an implication, okay? And she can actually take it further. And she would know that not everything materialistic is important, but even the small things we do for each other, it's caring. So again, these are different implications where you want to lead to. The same thing is with your research. So when the research is talking about how you actually, let me just put it on the eraser so it gets less messier. Okay, so I think this is gonna help you. Yeah. All right. So we first, again, for the last time, it's called introduction, the same format. Make it linear. Don't begin with the conclusion. Don't begin with the method. You must begin with the introduction. Introduction, some writers say you could have background and purpose. Some you could separate it, okay? Then you go on to the method, and then some call it product, some call it the results. And at the end, your conclusions and your implications. But what's more important here, I want you to realize is the language, okay? So when we talk about the language here, again, let me change the color better so it's easier. The language that I want you to see is, it's a fact here. So motivation and attitudes are believed. Also remember when you write reports, passive voice is very useful, by the way. If anybody wants to just run over passive voice with me right now, please feel free. I'll be happy to do that. So passive voice is when you have a to be verb and the main verb, you add the past tense. Passive voice is not about past tense. It just makes it more polite. Like, for example, I want to make jam. So strawberry jam. So I'm like, wash the jam. Oh, sorry, wash the strawberry, cut them into small pieces, put it on the fire, add sugar. So now these are all imperative forms. It's like a command, which is great for a cookbook. But as a writer, as a reporter, as a scientist, you need to write in a way what you have done, and the reader should, be able to recollect it in a polite manner. So therefore, you'll change. Instead of wash the strawberries, it'll be the strawberries are washed. Cut the strawberries are cut. They are put in the pan. Sugar is added. Okay, so to be verb is and added. You add the past tense, change the main verb. So please practice your passive voice. It's very useful for report writing. So let's go back to the language. So when you talk about just information, it's factual. So motivation and attitudes are believed to be significant factors. This study, so when you talk about the purpose, it's quite straightforward. This study aims to investigate. This study, so you've got to really just be very straightforward about that, whatever is your purpose, okay? Then who would be the participants? The participants of this study comprise whatever schools, people, from where. I think it's very important to tell also where your coverage is. Now, data was collected by what means? Qualitative, quantitative, through what kind of instrument you used. And then when you want to talk about the results, the findings revealed. So these are important. I think if you really look at the verbs here, believed, aims, comprise, collected, revealed. So you notice how we can actually just know many verbs and they'll be very helpful. And at the end, based on the findings, some pedagogical implications are also demonstrated. So what was it? It is hoped for the future. The rest mostly went on past tense, except for introduction. You could actually be flexible about it. So you could say the study aims to or aimed to. That I think depends on the publication. Definitely your method was undertaken. So mostly you will see that it was reported in the past tense. Data was collected using what? Because you want to prove. Look, your tense also will talk a lot about your intention. Okay. So like hedging, no? So sometimes maybe it's like you're not sure. Definitely, possibly it will happen. So you will use some other can, could, possible, will, I will see you tonight, So it's like showing that, yes, I am committed. I can see you tonight. It's like I can do it. I'm able to. Will I or not? It's up to me, right? So therefore, similarly, even in your language that you choose, it shows actually what happened and what is to happen. So here, introduction, if you want it to sound factual, that's all right, are believed. Method was done. Product, again, it whatever results or findings you would like to discuss. So revealed, most of them said that it went in the past tense, but your implications or the usefulness is going to happen in the future. It is hoped that findings will benefit teachers in Thailand as well as helping those to gain about whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So two things that we learned here about the abstract. One is the structure. So you begin with MRD. But it's again, let me remind you, it's kind of flexible depending on which writer you are following. And look at the language that goes into it. Okay, so look at the main verb, look at the tense. So the more you build upon the words uh, for each of your um, the context or the component, it will be very useful. Okay. Let me move on. So therefore, again, in many research papers, so like I said, if you wish to be able to, follow a convention of the research paper, you've got to be a little alert. In some research papers, introduction is omitted, they don't require. And in some, literature review is omitted, they don't require. So you've got to really read and understand. If you're doing a PhD, please check with your advisor, or you'll have to follow the APA. I'll even show you the APA style. If you're going through various publications, like for example, the computer, if you're going to publish in computer related, see, computers, the trends change so fast. They definitely don't emphasize too much on your literature review, okay? But in medical also, they will talk a lot about, I mean, the whole thing is you've got to be very strong on your concepts, on your science. You can't falter there. They'll also emphasize much on your method because, you're using the placebo effect or what. So it depends on which field. I know in the field of technology, sometimes like when I do for professional communication, literature review is important because we need to be able to peg on what we are communicating and why, where does it come from. So every field has it. In teaching English, introduction, background is important, and we go to the method. We usually omit the literature review in the abstract. So please check um, with the publication. So here, when there's another paper that says that Watana Lauha and Tangkiang Sirin in 2018, they said that a background move or introduction was discarded. So as I mentioned, not everybody does each of the component. Not everybody does introduction, method, etc. So some of them they don't do introduction, they go straight to purpose. The study aims to. They don't even talk about the background, and they just go to method, product, conclusion. Okay, so you are highly encouraged to look at the convention of where you're publishing, and please understand that. Now there's another example we have here by Imsaat in 2020, an example of a research abstract that does not have an introduction. So as you see, it begins straight with the purpose of the study is to examine the effectiveness of utilizing graphic organizers to enhance the Thai EFL students' reading comprehensions. Then it goes next to the method, where the method means to gather information from the upper secondary school in this research study used one, instructional instruments, research instruments. So I'm just skipping those details. And then this next part, the data was analyzed using descriptive text. And what did the results indicate? The results indicated, okay, there was a mean score on the reading post-test, which was higher than the mean score. I won't read the rest of it. And lastly, students, okay, exhibited a favorable. Additionally, this research established that English reading instruction employing graphic organizers benefit students. So the findings provide potential avenues, implication for students improving the language. So here, as you can see, look again, we don't have an introduction with the background. It went straight to the purpose, followed by the method. There's no negotiation there. The methodology, the product or the result, and the conclusion. Okay. And one way, as I mentioned earlier, your language can help you decide also what the writer is trying to say. Obviously, something that is called purpose or aim will fulfill the introduction here. Study used, so to talk about the instruments or what data, how it was analyzed. So this will answer you how, right? As we had mentioned earlier. Then what does the result say? Indicated, revealed. There are so many verbs, as I mentioned earlier. Try collecting them. So, it gives you variations. And at the end, what was the conclusion and implication? Some combine it, some do it in 2 sentences. So I would leave that up to you to find out from wherever you'd be publishing what exactly you need to follow. So therefore, as we can see, I always use the word convention. So convention means something that is well accepted by a community. Okay. So when in the Christian wedding, when the couple says, I do, and we know that it's conventional means they are married, right? It means it's agreed. So the same thing, you come for a convention, right? Or a seminar, and you know what to expect. So when you have an essay that's got 3 paragraphs with an introduction, body, conclusion, that's a convention. So the same thing we see is for research abstracts. They also have their own conventions. The interesting part is who comes up with these conventions. It's the members of the society. So the more you use it, the more it becomes recognized. And the researcher, you could also observe and say, hey, I have noticed 2,000 people as doing their research paper, and it's so interesting how everybody does the same. And you just put a label to it. There you've established your convention. So then another word we have is rhetorical moves. What are rhetorical moves? Rhetorical moves, like I told you, it moves in linear. Linear means it has to go first introduction and then method, then conclusion. Now, some moves, they would say, can come back and forth, but I'm not going into that. For abstract, there's no negotiation. The rhetorical moves, so moves means when a part of the writing, could be the paragraph or sentences or words, needs to come one before the other. It's like a rhetoric, okay? So that's what we call a move. So move means you've played chess before. So what's your next move? What's your next step? Okay. But step is part of the move. Okay. I'm not going into too much details there, but for those who've studied move analysis, for me personally, it's one of the most precious part of any of my writing classes, be it me as a writer or me as a teacher. Move analysis is the most useful technique one can adopt, one can kind of investigate to understand, one, the structure, and two, the language. Okay, rhetorical moves will come with both. So you can read more about Biber, etc. So here, so what is a move again? A move can range anything from a phrase to several sentences. Okay, so here we had one move. So the move here we had is the first move is purpose. As you can see, it's got a sentence and sometimes even two. So a range of move can vary, ranging from a phrase to several sentences, and certain moves may be omitted. So for example, the introduction, the background was kind of omitted. We only had the purpose, not in all, okay? Based on the intended audience and purpose. So you've got to ask yourself, who's my audience? Who's going to read my paper? Is it my advisor? Is it my university? Is it somebody else? Somebody else means the publisher. And what is their expectations? And that is really when you will be following the conventions accordingly. Okay, so you've got to really ask yourself always the first question, who's my audience, and adapt the move accordingly. So let's say Highland had earlier suggested the 5 moves, introduction. So when we talk about moves, we always all have to ask ourselves, one, what is the move and what's the purpose of that move? So in the introduction, Highland's purpose says to establish the context or give the background information. Why? So that you want to motivate the research discussion. Otherwise, like if in the example given, every learner needs to be motivated. Yeah, that's interesting because I think in Thailand, from what we have come across, I think my students are good, but they just are not confident to speak. And then I have to investigate, why aren't you speaking? Maybe it's because of a cultural thing, or maybe because they're afraid to lose face, or maybe they don't know why they need to speak. They're never going to use it. So yeah, for that, then it gets more motivating for me to understand, how do I motivate my students so I want them to learn and speak? Okay, so the purpose of having an introduction is to establish the background or the context of the paper. Number 2, what is the purpose? The purpose is because we probably have a preconceived notion which we want to prove as a hypothesis, or maybe whatever the aim is, okay, to know the intention of why are we doing this paper. Yeah, so people are not motivated. So, but I want to find out from the school, I want to prove it that yes, what are the reasons so I can solve the problem accordingly. Method. So here the method would be ask yourself why. Okay, so like I said, the purpose of the move always is there is a function, and what function does it serve? So the purpose, that the function that the method serves, is to give the reader what instruments or designs were used, what procedures, how was the data analyzed. Okay, so that's really the function that the method fulfills. The product, or what we call the results, is what actually came out from talking to those 640 students. What did they think? What did they believe? So I think we already have it here. Yeah, what did they think? The findings reveal that Thai EFL students are highly motivated, bingo, and they are keen to learn. However, what's the problem? Most of them said that English language learning in classrooms does not seem to meet their needs. So where do I have to improve? And that prevents them from learning. So I have to find out, what does it mean that it does not meet their needs? Or maybe it's like, I come to class, good morning, teacher, where is your cat? The cat is under the table. Yeah, and in real life, it's not useful. In real life, they are meeting people nowadays. I know a lot of my students are learning from gaming. So it's like they want to learn that language. They want to learn how to breathe. how to, when they are playing a game, how to exchange information. And it's really interesting to find out, okay, maybe some of them want to travel. So how do I ask for exchange? How do I ask for directions? So therefore, when you do actually meet their needs, it's going to kind of motivate them, hopefully. And therefore, at the end, I'll just finish this page. Based on the findings, some implications are demonstrated. So what is it that the teachers can learn? They will benefit teachers how to gain insights. So look at the problem. You're trying to motivate by giving them stickers and giving them points, but that's not what they really want. They want something that is going to help them use the language. And it also says prevent them from improving. What is it that's preventing from real life? We're looking at real life situations. So look at what students really want today. What are they coming in touch with? Maybe English for social media. And the latest, maybe we have English for AI. I don't know. So you've got to really gain insights about how they can support students' motivation and attitude. So I think this is a great study, though it's not the latest, but based on these constructs, you can even, develop something further. So coming to look at, I'm just skipping. Yeah. So I already mentioned to you what a move is, and always ask yourself this question. What purpose does this move serve? Look, you can't ask yourself what purpose does the research serve, because abstract means you've done your research. Now you're just trying to summarize it for us, okay? So your results will be put up in the abstract in order to state the main findings, or it could support. Okay, it could even have gone, but for now you just state it as a fact, as it happened. But if you really want to contemplate on it, you want to extend the benefits, etc., that will happen in the conclusion. So the conclusion will allow you to serve the function to interpret the data and draw some inference. What is an inference? Now, there's a difference between conclusion and inference. Conclusion is what is stated as a fact. Inference, you draw upon the fact, and then what is not written, based on your knowledge, based on the fact given, you will write it in your words. So let's say the teacher comes to class and everybody clear your desk. What do you infer? If a teacher comes to your class and say, everybody clean your desk, get ready, I'm going to hand you out some papers. What do you infer? Anyone?
Clear.
Yeah, clear why. So everybody bring a pen and get ready. Why did I tell you to clean your table? What do I want to do today? I have paper in my hand and you have a pen. I'm going to give you a test, right? That's what you would infer. That, oh, so if the teacher comes in and says, everybody clean your table, no gadgets, nothing on your table. Now, I did not say I'm giving a test, but based on your knowledge, you infer. So therefore, when you conclude, you could include your draw upon your inference or whatever you wish to add for the research to have implications. Implications means how do they imply further? So pedagogical implication means, for example, how can the teacher use this information to apply in their classroom while they are teaching? So this all comes, like, oh, we can even call it recommendation. This will be the purpose of the conclusion part. Okay? Anybody has any questions so far? Okay, if not, then let's quickly do an activity. Identify the moves used in this abstract. I'll give you 2 minutes here. The first one, maybe I can help you. So here we have the COVID-19 outbreak in 2020 necessitated an abrupt and unplanned transition from irregular face-to-face classrooms to outline platforms creating unique advantage. Now, you don't have to read too much sometimes. Can you quickly tell me what this would be? Would it be introduction, M, method, R, result, or conclusion? Anyone? It always starts with an introduction, right? And here you go on. Where do I stop with introduction? So introduction could be introduction with the background and introduction with the purpose. Where can I find purpose here? Do we have a purpose? How do we identify the purpose? So this is line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, so which line can I find the purpose? Anyone? Line number? The purpose means the aim, right? So how about this? This study investigates. See, just from, I didn't even read everything. I'm just going for the language. That's it. You can be able to find out. The author interviewed. What about this? IMRD. What is it? Is it introduction, method, result, finding? Sorry, I think I heard the word. Somebody said what? Method, right? Well done. The author interviewed, okay? Who did they interview? Results showed. So straightforward, okay? Results showed. Moreover, the results indicate. This is still a result part. These findings suggest. What would this be? This finding suggest is your conclusion. So please read it and see, look at the language. I did not even read in detail, but you see how you can actually scan the language, and it was all in order. I, M, R, C, okay? Introduction, method, results, and conclusion. So this was the slide that you have. I still have 10 more minutes, and I'll be very happy actually to share something with you. So you can go on to use that practice. I mean, I wish we had more time. It would have been, oh, I just saw a few messages in the chats. Thank you all for telling me, yes, 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 you can hear me. I did not see the chat. Okay, let me just show you one more. So the extra practice that you have, I think you can go on to see it. Let me just, give me a minute. Okay, I'm not going over the extra practice. The link is there for you. What I'll do is I'll just share something about the, give me a moment, please. Just opening the file. So if you are following the APA, I'm not sure if the university has APA for you, or do you do MLA? I think most of the Asian universities do APA. So here we have, I hope you can see my screen. So this, I just pulled it out from the APA website, and the APA website will tell you how to read and understand abstracts. Again, what are abstract? By now, you know they are short summaries of the research paper articles. And it's like a snapshot. No, you take a picture, you get one snapshot. The same thing. Your paper may have 20 pages, but in one paragraph, 200 or maybe 250 words. So APA says you can write 250 50 words. What do you want? What do they want? Purpose, method, results, findings, same thing, and discussion or conclusion. All in one paragraph, no bullet points, okay? How much do you want to write for each is a good question. So we'll just come and see that in a bit. So reading an abstract is like reading a study guide, okay? It won't cover everything, but it will tell you whether this paper is interesting for you or not. My personal thing is read at least 50 abstracts a day and at least do 10 papers every day. I mean, the more you read, the better, because not every abstract you read is going to lead you to the details of those, right? So it's going to make you practice and the pattern will just appear, okay? So abstracts are the first point of contact. So whenever you read a research article, the first thing you see is the abstract. You can read it. And because then you'll find out whether you want to read the whole paper or not. Otherwise, like they say, the paper is daunting. Daunting means you're going to be overwhelmed. Oh God, I have to read the whole thing. Don't worry, just read the abstract. If it makes it beneficial for you, read the paper. If not, go to the next one. Okay? Research. So here you've got to be able to even write your own. Now, this is a good example of introduction. So this one has a background. Most people agree that, see how it's a fact. Romantic relationships greatly affect how we feel. For example, now this is quite long because remember, you need about 250 pages. But again, sorry, 250 words. If they have enough for you, well and good. Then from introduction, they go straight to the method. Using data from the SOEP study, we examined, so please collect your verbs, okay? Results, life satisfaction and happiness increased slightly. So these effects were short-lived, etc. They were associated. So you can have data revealed, you can be simple, or you just want to talk about the relationship, how it happened. So these are all verbs and describing what the author found. And lastly, you end with a discussion. The findings suggest, the implications are, whatever, okay? So I don't think 1 hour is going to be enough for you, but you get an idea of how to formulate your abstract. And you know by now, structure is important, IMRD. The language you use, the more verbs you collect, the better for you. And don't make your abstract different from your real research paper. Okay, it's got to reflect what the research is. And the more you read abstract papers, the easier you're gonna find to even write. Okay, I think it's already 6 o'clock. Anybody has any questions? I wish we had more so we can tell you what percentage can be used where, but never mind, something for the next time then, because it's 6 o'clock. So yeah, before this gets cut off. Any questions, anyone? Yeah, you can even type it. I mean, somebody's typing. I think if you have any questions, you can type. I'll be very happy to answer your questions. I mean, really, the more you read, the happier you're gonna be because it's gonna help you be able to identify it very quickly. Okay, so if there are no questions here, my ending slide would definitely be just keep this one. I hope you'll find it very useful. Okay, so whenever you write an abstract, it should always have an introduction. You see it's like an inverted triangle. So you begin with something very broad, and then you talk about the method, the results, discussion, and then it becomes a broad triangle. So this is what IMRD is. Literature review, I told you, many publications don't expect you. Some do. Please find out exactly what. And how much of the percentage of each. So abstract can be anything from 100 to 250 words. So here, the purpose. So your introduction most probably will have 25%. Okay, so this is, of course, it depends on you how you want to, but you need to plan. Method, another 25%. So here, make sure that, results may come up to 65% and remaining 15% would be your implications. So 25, 25, 65, 15. Okay, I think I'll end here. It's already 6 o'clock. I would not want to hold you for long. Yeah, anything else, anyone? Feel free. Thank you. Thank you so much and have a nice evening, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you, Kanyapat, Lee, Yindu, Anom, Monchaya. Thank you. Sirilak. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I didn't see it before, Chaturong. I didn't see that by Bua. See you next time. Sawadee, Ja Tanin. Okay, I'll exit now. Have a nice weekend all. Take care. Vilay Rak. Bye-bye. See ya. Okay. I hope you enjoyed the class and it was beneficial. All the best for your PhD. Bye.